my name is Sarah May, and I'll be giving you a mini tour today of the markets in Rome. I have a background in European humanities, so that's my academic background, but I've also studied wine and food since 1997. I'm a certified sommelier. My passion was born as I moved to Italy about 6 years ago. So I'm just going to show you around the market and give you an idea of how Romans eat. Okay, so Rome is in the region of Lazio, and if you kind of just pan over, you'll see a lot of fruits and vegetables. It's a very produce-rich kitchen, and the reason for this is because it's a kitchen that was born out of poverty. Traditionally, meats and animal products were only consumed by the wealthy, or not at all times every day, but only on certain holidays. So the Laziale people were always quite poor, and same with the Romans. You had two types of kitchens in Rome. The papal kitchen, which was very wealthy, very rich, very similar to what you might see in the court of the King of France. And then you would have the regular people. So they had to make do with what they had, and they were very inventive with what they had. Okay, so in the kitchen of Lazio, you have a lot of field greens. Here's some examples. These are already kind of cut up already. A lot of greens that you don't see in other parts of the world because they only really exist here. And it's very common if you go into the countryside outside of Rome, for example in the Castelli Romani, you see a lot of the older people sometimes after it rains to just be picking greens on the side of the road. When I first moved here, I thought it was very strange. But now that I've had experience and asked some of the people in town what they're actually eating and tasted what they eat, I understand now. So there's a lot of food available, but you have to kind of search for it. But luckily you have a market like this, and you can actually just go and buy it. So I'm actually going to buy a few things. For example, they already have pre-made soups for minestrone. So all you would do is throw that in a pot. I think the best way to do it would be in a pressure cooker. Maybe throw in some onions, some olive oil, splash of wine, and some salt. Ready-made soup. I'd actually throw in some beans too. Over here you have broccoletti. So they're like field greens. It's almost very similar to what wild broccoli would have looked like. Here you just have some mixed herbal salad. So this is all stuff you would find in fields. Anyway, you can just see different types of greens. Most of the greens here are on the bitter side. So the most familiar to you might be something similar to kale or mustard greens. They are very bitter, but it's all about the cooking. So you'll often saute it with garlic, a little bit of pepperoncini, which are Italian red peppers. Broccoletti. So all I'm going to do with this vegetable is I'm going to boil it, preferably in the pressure cooker to keep the flavors for about 5 minutes. Then I'll drain it, and then in a deep pan I'm going to saute it with lots of garlic, pepperoncini, and maybe some tomatoes, although tomatoes are not in season right now. So that's typically what I would do, maybe use some canned tomatoes and sheet. It's very delicious. It's fennel. It's called finocchio, so the white bulbs there. Tre finocchi. So my favorite thing to do, you can roast them, they're delicious roasted. They have a flavor very similar to anise or licorice, but my favorite thing to do, and it's a recipe I learned from my husband's mother, is to make a salad with the fennel and mandarin. So you can look over there, for example, you'll see there's a lot of citrus in season. So it's always nice in the winter, you have these really lovely blood oranges, and you have nice juices, and they just go beautifully with the fennel. You put some olive oil in it and some salt and pepper, and it's a delicious side salad. And I think basta. Now over here we have two different types of asparagus. Io voglio qualche asparagus.
Questo?
Sì.
Questo è speciale?
Sì, lo so.
Ah, lo sa. Non parlo
Okay, so I'm buying some asparagus, but here you can see
buoni.
she said that they're very good. They are very good, but you have two different types of asparagus. This is typically what you would see in a grocery store. They're thick. These are cultivated, so I don't want to say they're genetically modified because they're not genetically modified, but this is what you would find in the wild. And yes, asparagus does grow in the wild in the hills outside of Lazio. I find it regularly at my house. And it does have a different flavor. Both are quite bitter, and in fact, just to note, asparagus are the worst. It's the worst vegetable to try to pair with wine because it just turns into metal in your mouth. But just to show you, there are different types of asparagus. The most famous dishes in Rome are 2 different types of artichoke. So if you pan down here, you can see some of the artichokes. They are in season right now. So there's 2 different types of artichoke dishes in Rome. One is carciofi alla Giudia, so Jewish style artichokes, which are traditionally battered and deep fried. And they open them up and they look like an artichoke flower. They're very beautiful and they're delicious. So if you like fried food and you like artichokes, it's the perfect dish. The second type of artichoke dish is carciofi alla romana, so Roman style artichokes, which are stewed artichokes, and you would stew it with garlic, lemon, and mint, and it's delicious. So those are the 2 different types, although there's many different other types of artichokes in Rome, but it's a very traditional Roman vegetable. And they grow in the countryside. So again, it's one of those dishes that people got creative with. They made do with what they had. Okay?